Now let me continue with the third section for today, which has the headline, Why do macroeconomists disagree? Keep in mind, in economics we distinguish so-called positive arguments and normative arguments or approaches. Normative arguments are based on value judgments, and it's basically a sentence where you have the word should. You should do this or that. Yeah? A positive statement is a scientific statement where you can set up a hypothesis and you can prove or reject this hypothesis. So that's the difference between positive and normative. And due to the fact that normative is based on a value judgment, you can have different views. I'll give you an example. When we talk about the distribution of income, you can have different views. The left, the political left parties argue we need an equal distribution of income. So usually the conservative parties, more rights, on the right-hand side, they argue, well, we think there is an equal opportunity and the distribution should depend on your performance. Yeah? The more you are working and engaged in a process, in the end, the more you should get. Equal opportunity based on performance. So there are these different views. And these are normative. I, as an economist, cannot give you a theory and a clear-cut proof that this is better than that we should do equal distribution or based on performance. That is based on ideologies. And therefore economists cannot really contribute so much on the debate of distribution issues. It's in the field of politics. And in a democracy, we have the opportunity and the possibility to vote the parties that is implementing the policy we prefer. Yeah? Equal, then more left-oriented, or based on what you do, more performance-oriented, other political parties. The difficulty with this question of social justice or equal opportunity and so on, well, you can follow this over 2,000 years of philosophical discussion. Already Aristotle discussed theories of social justice. And then you can follow this debate over Plato and many other philosophers up to Immanuel Kant, John Rawls, and so on. 2,000 years of discussion, and no scientists have really got or given a clear-cut answer. What is social justice? How should it look like? There are different views, and different concepts in general. And therefore we have disagreement always when we are in the normative field. That is true for every science and for macroeconomics as well. But in macroeconomics, it's even worse. We also have disagreement in the positive field, where we have scientific proofs and statements, where we can reject or say, well, we check it, that's right. And why do we have disagreement in macroeconomics in this field? This has to do that we have different schools of thought in macroeconomics. And the two different schools of thought that developed in the past is, on the one hand, the classicals, the classical economists, and on the other hand, the so-called Keynesians. The classicals are following the ideas of Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, published in 1776. The Keynesians follow the idea of John Maynard Keynes, and he published a book in the reaction of the Great Depression, what has happened in the 1930s. He published the book in 1936, and the title was The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. And these two different schools of thought, they are based on different assumptions, and therefore they have different implications, and therefore contradictions If a classical is discussing with a Keynesian, they may differ in what we should do to bring the economy back on track. So what are these differences? By the way, sometimes they are also distinguished. The classicals are sometimes called the supply side economics, and the Keynesians are sometimes argued or seen as the demand side approach or economics. So now let me quickly tell you what is the key difference. So the classical approach from Adam Smith is based on assumptions. And the key assumptions are the following. Markets are competitive, and the prices and wages adjust quickly. They are flexible. That are the key assumptions. There are even more, but these are the two important you have to keep in mind to distinguish the classicals from the Keynesians. Now I will tell you what the Keynesians assume. Well, the Keynesians assume in particular that the price adjustment is slow and the wages. Price and wage adjustment is slow. Classical approach, flexible, quick adjustment. Keynesian, slow. And now I can tell you that every approach has its truths, and it's appropriate in certain situations. Because it depends in the end from the time horizon you are looking at. Think about a haircut. If you go to downtown Reutlingen, the haircut for a man, 10 euros, let's say. The price of this 10 euros is tomorrow the same, 10 euros. Maybe next week also 10 euros. And next month, I would say, it is 10 euros. So in the short run, probably, the price is almost fixed. Adjust slowly. And the same is true for the wages. The guy who is doing the haircut get probably over the next weeks and the next months the same wage. But in the long run, let's say next year, well, probably the price of a haircut is different. It adjusts. And the wage of the guy is also different in the long run. And that is showing you now that the Keynesian view is a good assumption for the short run analysis and for the short run view, while if we are interested, what can we do in the long run to bring the economy back on track, to strengthen our economy, well, then we have to take a look to the classical theories and approaches. So every approach has a truth, and it depends mainly from the time horizon. In the short run, the classical approach is more realistic. But in the longer run, if we think about what can we do to strengthen the German economy over the next 50 years, well, then we have to take a look to the classical approaches, because they have the right assumption. They are telling me the right conclusions. If we are in a recession, and it's a short-run issue, what can we do to bring the economy back on track soon? Well, then also we have to study what Keynes is telling us. And if we want to strengthen the long run, probably we do a combination. Short-run stimulus, Keynesian message, classical, long-run investments in infrastructure, education, to keep the economy strong in the long run. So in general, I would see this divide and these different schools of thought more pragmatic. I'm neither a Keynesian nor a classical. So we have to differentiate in which situation we are, and then we have to look what are the tools we have and how can we implement the tools most effectively to tackle the challenge and the situation and the problem we face.